Moving on, a group of Indonesian fishermen has filed a lawsuit against canned tuna giant Bumblebee, alleging the company was complicit in labor abuses within its supply chain. The lawsuit, filed in a California federal court, claims that Bumblebee sourced its tuna from operations that subjected workers to forced labor, debt bondage, and inhospitable working conditions. According to the plaintiffs, these practices represent a systematic failure to ensure transparency and ethical sourcing. The case serves as part of a broader conversation about labor exploitation in global supply chains, particularly in the seafood industry. The lawsuit highlights a significant development in holding corporations accountable for labor abuses. According to the documents filed in the case, the fishermen alleged they were forced to work up to 18 hours per day under dangerous conditions, often receiving insufficient food and medical care. Additionally, they claim they faced threats of violence if they failed to comply with demands. The plaintiffs argue that Bumblebee, despite being aware of these practices, continued to benefit from these exploitative labor conditions. These abuses are not isolated incidents, but part of a wider systematic problem in how seafood is sourced, said the plaintiff's legal representative. One of the central challenges discussed in the case is the complexity of monitoring extensive international supply chains. While Bumblebee states that it adheres to rigorous standards and ethical benchmarks, advocates argue that voluntary certification programs and audits often fail to identify or prevent abuse. Proposed solutions include implementing stricter oversight mechanisms and greater corporate accountability, such as legally binding labor rights guidelines. Collaborative international efforts between governments, NGOs, and corporations could provide a pathway toward mitigating such abuses. If successful, this lawsuit could set a legal precedent compelling companies to take greater responsibility for the labor practices within their supply chains. It could also prompt a significant overhaul in the seafood industry sourcing practices. Greater transparency and accountability would not only safeguard workers' rights, but also improve industry-wide reputation and consumer trust. With global focus increasingly shifting towards ethical and sustainable production, cases like this may serve as a critical turning point in addressing long-standing issues within global supply chains.